It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for July 26th, 2023. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, we have a ton of details about Armored Core 6, and it is once again the time of SHREK. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host, the Game Mess Mornings. It's Jan Ochoa on a Wednesday, everybody. You're in luck. Jan, how are you doing?
It's Wednesday, innit? I'm gonna go check on my cat Peanut, and
today the part of Lucy will be played by Jan Ochoa in the role of a lifetime.
Kermit the Frog here.
Miss and Lucy, they've been very busy. They went to Comic-Con and then recovering from that. So we got Jan in here. There is no Game Mess Mornings tomorrow or Friday or Monday. So last one for the week. So I'm glad we can make this happen, Jan. I appreciate you coming in and doing it. But yeah, how are you doing?
Grubb, I'm going to take this opportunity to say that well-deserved time off.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Also, I think I want to say that I love and support everyone and their hobbies. Maybe except some car people.
Are you talking about like the guys that like have like a beater on their like lawn for like 7 years, or what are we talking about? Or no, that's loud muffler people.
That's fine. I'm talking about car people that feel like they just want to start stuff just to start stuff. I had an encounter last night. Thought it was I might have to get a little physical.
Sure.
The person had backed up all the way, and his bumper was on my bumper. I'm like, all right, dude. Like, I don't know. And he was in his car. I turn on my car, and I was about to get out and be like, yo, can you move forward? But he preemptively got out of his car, said, why'd you bump my car, man?
Holy shit.
Like, dude, I literally just started my car.
Yeah, your car wasn't even on. That's crazy.
Exactly. He was hanging out in his car. Anyway, we got into like a verbal spat. If I had to get physical, I was ready to throw down. And then he was like, all right, man, whatever. He just gets in his car, and then he speeds away, and he fishtails away. And I feel like he wanted to start this interaction just so he could speed off away in a huff and try to look cool.
Yeah, I definitely get that feeling in a lot of like car, what is it called, road rage incidents. It's like it's got to be people looking for an outlet, right? They want to be in a fight like that, because it is very easy to avoid getting angry on the road. Someone does something to you, you flip them off, you yell at them, and then you move on with your life. It's like a real quick thing.
Exactly.
Like, turn it like amplifying it and like take it to the next level. I'm always like, I don't get this. What are we doing here? Aren't you like, you're in your car? The only reason to be in your car, in my mind, is to get somewhere. Don't you still have someplace to be? Like, just go to that place and forget about this. I don't get it.
I have no idea, Grubb. So some car people, a small portion of that hobby audience, that can't stand you.
Yeah. Jan, listen, I think I know you by this point, and I know that you would be ready to square off. It's America. Everyone has guns. Please be careful, Jan. That's my thinking now is usually like, God, I really would like to just beat this person up. I would like to get in a fight. That's what I want to do, but they probably have a gun. Ugh. And so I don't. I don't get in a fight with them because I don't want to get shot. So yeah, don't get shot, Jan. That's my big thing here. That's my big platform.
All right. I'll try.
Thank you for doing that for me. I appreciate it. Let's get into this mess. But before we do, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you were watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Okay, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Armored Core 6 preview roundup. This comes from a whole bunch of stories from GameSpot and Destructoid. A couple others might have slipped in there, but it's mostly GameSpot and Destructoid. Just shout out to all the coverage that those teams did. Let's start here. Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon will feature multiple endings determined by players' actions throughout the campaign. Players will act, and I'm just going to kind of go the bullet points of these big things from these previews. We're not going to dive into each of these ideas individually. Players will act as independent mercenaries and won't belong to any specific faction, but their decisions during the campaign will influence the mission and branching paths, leading to various endings. There's a lot of different endings, apparently. The game's director, Masaru Yamamura, confirmed that they initially considered an open world approach, but decided against it to focus on the freedom of mech assembly and customization. Speaking of that, the game will have a strong emphasis on mech customization, with players being able to fine-tune and swap out parts to suit their playstyle and adapt to different challenges. The game's combat will have elements inspired by Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, with a focus on highly dynamic and aggressive combat. While the game will have a PvP option, the main focus is still on the single-player campaign, and the multiplayer mode is there to complement the single-player experience, according to the developer. The game's developer put a lot of effort into balancing mech assembly to make it impactful and affect the gameplay feel, not just for number crunching and min-maxing. The customization options go beyond just mechanical parts, with the ability to customize the appearance of the mechs, allowing players to bring their mech fantasies into the game. And boy, Jan, I have some mech fantasies, let me tell you about.
Me too, buddy.
The game's story revolves around a corporate war for control of the planet Rubicon, and the designs of mech parts were influenced by the backgrounds and priorities of each corporation. Armored Core 6 will be fully supported on the Steam Deck and will be the first game in the series to have an official PC launch. As far as how long the game takes to complete, about 20 hours, 50 hours for completionists. This game is out, Jan, this month. August 25th, which is bananas bonkers to me. Because I just saw this thing in June. You know, they did a behind closed doors preview event, not event, but they did a preview at SGF, and I saw it, and it looked like a game, but I was just like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm sure I'm going to hear about this a million more times before it actually comes out. It's like, no, it's out in a couple months, and you're going to hear about one big more preview event, and then it's going to go. How are you feeling about Armored Core 6 after all these previews?
After all these previews and that stream they did yesterday, I'm very excited about it. I'm still a little bit hesitant, mostly because just the sheer volume of games. And then if folks listened to the Bombcast yesterday, my status as a professional gamer has been attacked by one Bailey Myers.
Just buried.
I will not
put into the ground.
For this. But I'm in the same boat as you, Grubb. I remember seeing that trailer. Was it the Game Awards? Or
yeah, that sounds right. Yes. Yeah. I think I deleted the sentence I had in here about where it was announced. I'm like, we won't need that information. Yeah, I think it was the Game Awards.
Yeah, where the weird kid popped up. And it just seems like I thought this game was way further out. And then I remember you saying you had an appointment for it at SGF. And now I have an Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon little beach towel in my house.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. It's so I mean, listen, I think that the bullet points we read off here about, you know, the big things coming out of these previews mostly sound about right. The one that really gets it for me, Jan, is the Sekiro bit of this is, I mean, it is Armored Core like gameplay. Like we keep saying that. Yeah. From Software's changed a lot. They definitely, and they have put in stuff, I'll say this every time, they put in stuff that reminds me of other From Software games, mostly the repair kits being replenishable, like Estus flasks and stuff. Things that are not major things that are going to affect the way it feels, but it's going to like, oh yeah, we're just taking some of these elements from our games that we've done recently, and then you're going to go play it, and it's going to be Armored Core, but then them thinking like, well, you know, we have learned a lot about combat. Where should we draw from? Sekiro's the right one. An aggressive, on your toes instead of on your heels combat style for mechs. That's, you know, there's definitely a place for big, bulky, hulking mechs that do sit back on their heels, have a ton of shielding, and fire off missiles. That's cool. Armored Core, it always seems like one where it's like, we got fucking jetpacks on these big boys. We're going to rush in and we're going to attack. And that's what it was like when I saw it in person. That's what it looked like, and that's what they're going for. So, I mean, Sekiro Cho over here, what do you think about that?
I'm all for it. I thought of this when I was watching the Remnant 2 quick look of, I find it highly entertaining when you have an arsenal of guns and firearms at your disposal, yet you still go for the big hunkin' sword.
Yeah.
That was the case also in the Armored Core 6 preview stream that they did. Of course, you got all your missiles, you got your guns and everything, but whoever was doing the demo just kept attacking and slashing with a giant laser sword. And I'm all about that, Grubb. Give me a giant laser sword. Let me be an aggressive mech. And then combined with the mobility that you would get with a mech, like you said, we can all be jetpack boys, girls, and NBs just blasting around. I can't wait. I can't wait.
I'm in the same place now where it's like I can't wait for this game. A big part of it is, I was mowing the lawn yesterday, listening to the podcast. Blessing he played 4 hours of it. Apparently, this preview event seemed like it was pretty cool. We got invited, but we're the kind of short staff, so it was hard to get out there. So we didn't make it out there. But they had like a real mech you could have piloted. But like Blessing was like, no, I just kept playing the game. I couldn't stop playing the game. I didn't get to go be in the real mech that they had there. I'm like, okay, that sounds pretty good. And everyone who played it seems very hot on it. So, looking at the schedule, being like, okay, I'm actually getting near the end of Tears of the Kingdom now. I've gotten into the final place where I'm supposed to be and all this stuff, and I found all the memories. And holy shit, Jan, have you gotten all the memories in Tears of the Kingdom? Can I recommend that? Because that stuff blew my mind. It's so good. So yeah, I'm like, all right, I'm finishing that up, and I'm playing Pikmin 4. And I kind of can't stop playing that, so I imagine I'm going to get through that one pretty quickly. I'll get these, big Nintendo Switch games out of the way, and then I'm clearly also looking forward to Starfield. Armored Core 6, between now and then, that's the game I'm going to try to make time for. Based on the hype, based on what I'm seeing, based on the pedigree of From, I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, I also think, like, this can really carve out a very, very dedicated niche audience with the multiplayer. And Grubb, we've seen how freaky people get with their builds in all these Soulsborne games. I cannot wait to see the little freaky mechs that everyone builds of like, hey, I only have like one left arm on my mech because it affects my mobility and I can just slash things faster. Or like, God, just like I'm pretty sure if you can customize your mech in terms of parts, you can probably do color schemes as well.
Yes,
I just want a bunch of like bright neon mechs descending on onto a big helicopter. The funny thing, Grubb, in this trailer that they put out, your little mech was just fighting a giant helicarrier. It was great.
Yes, I love that stuff. And the way the mechs move in this game, getting me. The way just that. They really are rocket-powered devices that are just flying through. Like, they shouldn't be able to go that fast, but they have so much power that they can. I love that. I love that feeling. I love the way it looks, and I cannot wait to get my hands on the controller and actually play it. Armored Core 6 out August 25th. I said this month. I meant within a month. So, yeah, a month from now, basically, is when we're looking at this game. And it will be PC, PlayStations 4 and 5, Xbox Series X and S, as well as Xbox One, which is bananas that they're actually putting on Xbox One. But cool. All right, I guess that's what we're doing here. Microsoft reports second best Q4 and full year for Xbox revenue. This comes from Tom the Machine Ivan at VGC. Microsoft has reported relatively strong fourth quarter and full year fiscal year 23 sales for its Xbox division. For the fourth quarter, which ended June 30th, 2023, the company said gaming revenue increased $36 million or 1% compared to the corresponding period of the previous fiscal year. Quarterly Xbox content and services revenue was up 5% year over year, driven by growth in third-party content and Xbox Game Pass sales, but that was offset by a 13% decline in hardware revenue due to a lower volume of consoles sold. During a Microsoft earnings call on Tuesday that followed up this earnings report, CEO Satya Nadella claimed Xbox set fourth quarter records for monthly active users and Game Pass engagement. And here's a quote from him. We set new fourth quarter highs for monthly active users driven by the strength of console as well as monthly active devices. And we saw record fourth quarter engagement across Game Pass with hours played up 22% year over year. The quarterly gaming results fell short of the company's previous guidance. In April, Microsoft forecasted Xbox revenue growth in the mid to high single digits and Xbox content and services revenue growth in the low to mid teens. Nevertheless, according to independent industry analyst Dom Splain, Microsoft's fourth quarter gaming sales totaled approximately $3.49 billion, the second highest ever for the Xbox division behind Q4 of fiscal year 2021. This is, I think the big thing for me here, Jan, is Xbox sales dipping should not be happening, but also it's in line with, like, we talked to Phil on the couch, and he was like, we are basically looking beyond that. And the thing we are looking is growing services and just getting people playing our games elsewhere. And that is happening. And they are making more money. So if in my mind, when I asked him about that stuff, it was like, well, the Xbox is going to be the easiest way to grow. And he's like, well, no, PC is where we're growing and elsewhere. Do you take this as the plan is working for Xbox, or are there still like cracks in the armor?
It's, I guess like for some reason my head is just so in the weeds of software. But I guess like Microsoft is like, diversifying everything, and I guess Phil is correct where PC is where they're looking to grow. So I think things are going as expected for them. This baffles me, Grubb, because in my head I'm just trying to think like what even released last year that would move people over to Microsoft, or at least in Q4.
I mean, I suppose, So I suppose during like these, like, because their Q4 is what it's going to be, May, June. No, yeah, no, it's going to be April, May, and June. And last year that would have still been, supply constraints and people just rushing out to get Xbox if they saw one. And now they're readily available. All the systems are pretty much readily available at this point. And so it's like, okay, well, then what is the thing now that's moving? It has to be games, and still hasn't been much. Redfall would have been the thing, and Redfall obviously wasn't the thing. So yeah, I think the fact that they still saw, Game Pass growth, even again without a big game to draw people in, like a big first party exclusive game to draw people in. They have had relatively good releases into Game Pass. Game Pass has continued to look like a pretty decent deal. And I think they raised the price during that quarter, right? Because
I was thinking that too, of like, especially with them raising the price, them still bringing in like their second best Q4. Man, Pentiment was really a banger, I guess.
I guess so. They also gave full year sales for the division of approximately 15.47 billion, and that was only bettered during Microsoft's previous fiscal year. So they're like on a growth trajectory with a small backstep a little bit there. Using quarterly sales growth of 1% for Xbox, Microsoft's gaming division saw 15.465 billion in revenue during the year ending June 23rd. That's from Dom's Plane as well. It was 16.23 billion in fiscal year 2022. Still, fiscal year 23 is the second best fiscal year ever for Xbox. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella and CFO Amy Hood are expected to provide more information on Xbox division's performance during an earnings call later. Yes, that happened. I think overall the Xbox business it is growing. It's just I think. For me, it's like you can't like really extract it from the Xbox console, and yet I think they might have to figure out a way to do that. But if they get people excited to buy Xboxes, that to me is a sign that everything else is working. And if they have success without getting people like buying more Xboxes, or more Xboxes than last year, and still in this early part of the generation, this first half of the generation, it's like, okay, yeah, they are figuring out how to make money, but not all is right in paradise is kind of how it ends up feeling. And that's, maybe Starfield is the answer to that.
I hope Starfield is the answer to that. I can only imagine folks that are like still heavily entrenched in this non-existent console war. I hope that Starfield makes them happy.
Yes.
Because what, in terms of Xbox exclusives, Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush.
Yep.
Okay. That's it.
Yeah. Didn't they have like one other game of like that size? But Pentiment and Hi-Fi Rush are definitely the standouts for me. I mean, and now, they did Redfall, and clearly that was a misstep.
Redfall. There we go.
There it is. Yes. And now it's, I mean, I'll tell you what, though. Starfield continues to look fantastic. They put out these shorts that show off the world, and I'm like, man, that looks really good too. Like just establishing the tone for these space cities. So my hopes are getting way up there for Starfield.
I'm actively upset now, Grubb.
Yeah. And in 6 months, the conversation on Xbox could be very, very different. And I think, considering like where the conversation has come from, where they were at a real low point earlier this year, and to where they're at now, especially after that really good showing at E3, it's at SGF. I think that they're in a decent position to act on really good games coming out. If Starfield comes out and is good, they're in a position to exploit that to the greatest degree, and that's where they kind of need to be.
Yeah, and then they had a really good showing during Summer Game Fest.
Yes.
Like a lot of positivity, like stemming out of that showcase.
Exactly. That's like it reset the conversation, and now here we are. Looking at the that was like a very small portion of what would have came out of these numbers, but I bet that the growth in Game Pass, a significant portion of that probably did come from people watching that SGF press conference, being like, there are a lot of games coming. I'm excited about Xbox's ecosystem. I'm going to get back into Game Pass, or I'm going to go get Game Pass for PC and like move the needle on that stuff. So yeah, I think they're in a good position. Just it's not the best position.
Yeah, I think if the Asus Roger Ally took off, because you're just running Windows there, you could get PC Game Pass running pretty easily.
Yes, it's much easier.
If it was easy to get Xbox Game Pass on a Steam Deck, oh man, I feel like that'd be a killer combo.
Yeah, I think Microsoft knows that handheld PC gaming space is worth keeping a strong eye on, and that's what led to like their partnership with the Roger Ally. But it's it's like just another piece of the pie. They got to be growing in all. Like if console is not going to be like their main driver, or not going to be a huge point of growth, which is what he implied again on the couch. He's like, this is not going to be a place where we're going to see the most growth. Then you got like, everything else needs to be working. And I mean, honestly, if I was in that position and I needed one thing to get like to put all the pieces in place and make that growth happen everywhere, it would be a game like Starfield, like a game that's like going to be some people's forever game, and going to have a ton of mod support. You're going to be very excited on PC and console. So again, they're in a decent position to keep turning the conversation around.
It's just so wild because earlier this week with Jordan, you were talking about the prospects of a PS5 Pro, and that like a half-step console not even perhaps being on Microsoft's radar is wild.
Yes, I don't. Yeah, I mean, like I don't know when that would happen, when that makes sense. Do they do it 2 years from now? Because I mean, the PS4 or PS5 Pro apparently coming next year, late next year. Xbox, I'm sure they're working on hardware. I'm sure they have a constant research and development going on. I'm sure they have ideas about what to do if they feel that they need to do it. But I don't think they're going to be in any rush. And it's like, I don't know. We're going to be at that point. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And maybe they're like, yeah, that's fine. The Xbox Series X is our Pro model already. We're already fine with that. It's like, okay, I get that. But if you already feel like an afterthought in the console space, if a PS5 Pro comes out, I don't necessarily think that it's going to be like the best-selling console from this generation, the best console SKU, but it will reset the conversation and make the the Xbox Series X, like it's got more teraflops. Well, that won't even be true anymore. And that hasn't manifested into necessarily better performance across a lot of games, because a lot of developers are prioritizing the PS5. So a lot of games come out looking and running better on the PS5 already. So yeah, I don't know, but I don't know how important that is to Microsoft. And I don't know how important it is, both in terms of how important they feel it is, and then how important it like actually is in terms of making a difference to their end goals. That stuff is difficult to nail down, and we're going to see as we get further in this generation. All right, let's move on here. New Need for Speed could already be in development. This comes from Mike Straw at Insider Gaming. Need for Speed Unbound may have just been released last year, but Criterion already seems to be working on the next installment of the series. According to a recent job posting, a new Need for Speed may already be in development. With a proud history working on beloved franchises including Battlefield, Star Wars Battlefront, and Burnout, we're now challenging the conventions of the racing genre to take the Need for Speed franchise to the next level, the posting says. The specific job listing is for a world artist that will help us on our new and exciting endeavor to create an open world offering the player a fast, visceral, and authentic experience. Man, those are 3 words that you would put on a racing game. Fast, visceral, and authentic. Should Criterion be working on the next Need for Speed, it would be the 5th game in the series the studio has developed. Man, really already 5 games from Criterion on Need for Speed. Ooh. That's bizarre. Its first was Need for Speed Hot Pursuit back in 2010. Prior to working on the franchise, the studio was responsible for the popular Burnout series. Yeah, this almost certainly is true. I believe this. I've asked around. I haven't heard back yet, but I mean, They are always making Need for Speed games. They haven't stopped making Need for Speed games pretty much ever. So the idea that they are going back to that, yeah, that makes sense. Criterion working on it, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know what they need to do to get me excited about Need for Speed. I thought Unbound at least had a cool style to it, but it passed me by pretty quick. I'm like, okay, yeah, it looks interesting. I'm going to move on. I suppose maybe going back to Hot Pursuit or, Need for Speed Underground, but Unbound was pretty close to that already. So I don't know, Jan, what do you think?
I don't know. I also enjoyed the look of Unbound. I remember when we did the quick look of that, we both drove away fairly positive on it.
Yes.
But again, like you said, it just kind of came and went. I feel like the Need for Speed audience, we talk about niche game audiences all the time, especially with sports games, and I feel like those sports weirdos, no offense to anyone, that pick up Madden, that pick up FIFA or EA Football Club are the same folks that will always pick up a Need for Speed because of the name recognition.
I think so.
And like there are car freaks out there, and the car freaks, like the ones I may have gone into an altercation with, are starred for their car freak games.
Yes, I
feel like they are a reliable enough audience for EA to just continually churn out these Need for Speed games regardless of quality.
That's exactly what's happening. You're right. Need for Speed is the one where I remember getting rumors about that in the early days and putting it out there like, oh, well, no one's going to care about this. And then having a bunch of Need for Speed freaks just constantly reaching out, being like, I cover Need for Speed on my YouTube channel. That's all I talk about. I'm like, what? Really? Okay, sure. I mean, I don't have any more details than what I put out there, but yeah, we could talk about this. And it's like, no, there's a Need for Speed community. And I always found that surprising because it's just like, I don't identify with games like, especially games like a lot of EA games. Like, this is not part of my personality, but for some people it is. And so, yeah, Need for Speed has a surprisingly large audience that considers that their game, and so EA is just going to keep pumping them out, and hopefully Criterion could get to a point where it's like, one out of every few rises up to be interesting for that wider gaming audience that remembers caring about Need for Speed in the past and might have a chance to care again.
Yeah.
One thing they could do to make you care, Jan, and make me care, make all of us care, is put Shrek in the game, which is what DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing will do. It will see Shark, Poe, Hiccup, and more speed onto Switch soon. Is Poe the panda bear?
Poe is the Kung Fu Panda.
The titular Kung Fu Panda? Okay, yes. Fantastic. This is from Jim Norman at Nintendo Life. The residents of Far, Far Away, the Isle of Berk, Troll Village, and wherever Kung Fu Panda takes place are heading for the racetrack. Yeah, just China, right? Yeah. Are heading for the racetrack as publisher Game Mill Entertainment has today announced DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing, a new franchise-driven racer that will be heading to Switch later this year. I think it's coming to other systems as well. The starting lineup sees 20 characters from Shrek, How to Train Your Dragon, Madagascar, Kung Fu Panda, and more take to the track, racing around circuits that take inspiration from several of these worlds. Each character has their own unique car and can use items along the way to give them an edge over opponents. There are some changes from the usual IP racer formula to be found here, like magical switches, which can be hit to unlock shortcuts. And there looks to be a variety of game modes to cater for those who want to race competitively. Yeah, I'm down with kart racers, Jan. I like a lot of kart racers. This is from the people that did Nickelodeon kart racing game 3, Slime Racer, I think. That's not the name, but it's pretty close. And that game was, it felt like a decent game, but it also feels cheap because it's a licensed kart racer, and that's kind of what happens. Game Mill is also known for doing that. All that said, I'm glad that games like this still come out, Jan.
Oh, 100%. I feel like we went through a huge drought in IP racers, IP games. I'm glad. I know folks will think like, oh, it's like, get these garbage IP games out of my consoles. But I think it's fun.
Yeah.
It's good fun. I think about like, the thing is like, compared to a couple years ago, a good chunk of these IP licensed games would be garbo. But now the quality has gone up at least. So children will have better licensed games, or all my Shrek freaks will be able to finally play a good game on a modern console.
And it's like these games usually come out and if they're not lower priced at start, they go down in price pretty fast. And it's like it's nice to have cheap games to buy for kids with characters that they care about. And one of my favorite things about like going back to old games is like, I get on my ROM sites, Jan, you know me, I get on my ROM sites. And one of my favorite things to do is to find the games that aren't going to show up on Nintendo Switch Online. And those are usually licensed games, and playing those, it's like this is fun, even if they're bad games. It's like, so what? I love kind of going back to this stuff. So I'm glad that we're like every generation's still going to have that. Go back to your Last Action Hero game for the Super Nintendo or whatever.
Go back to your Austin Powers game for the Game Boy.
Exactly.
I know, Grubb. We're always saying
from Rockstar. Yes, from publisher Rockstar Games comes their most amazing game yet, Austin Powers for the Game Boy Color.
Grubb, you buried the lead here.
Yes, please.
Folks, don't be alarmed. The Boss Baby is also going to be in this game.
Yes. I wonder if it's going to have any voice acting. If it does, they probably are not going to get Alec Baldwin. I don't think.
Is Bacalar a little Boss Baby?
Oh, 1,000%. Oh, yes, absolutely. That's a Boss Baby right there.
I'm glad he's still away so he's around to hear this.
No one don't ever tell him this, everybody. We got this is our secret.
We're gonna start calling Bacalar BB, all right? And he'll just think like, oh, it's for baby. I'm like, yeah.
It definitely is. Yes, that's right. You got it in one.
I need everyone pull up a picture of Jeff Bacalar, then pull up a picture of the Boss Baby. Tell me that couldn't just be little Jib.
Yep, I'm gonna let's see, Jeff Bacalar. I'm gonna do it right now. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm just gonna have him though. Let's see here. There we go. There you go. Look at that. Look at that Boss Baby right there. Look at him with the CNET microphone doing Boss Baby things.
See, yeah, and then like
I broke the show. There we go.
Well, it's fine.
We're back. We're fine. Okay. Yep. I love our Boss Baby and respect his wishes, of course.
Okay. I need to put a hat and glasses on Boss Baby now.
Oh, let's fucking go. Okay. CD Projekt Red plans to lay off around 100 staff, which is roughly 9% of its team. This comes from Chris Scullion at VGC. CD Projekt Red has announced that it will be laying off nearly 10% of its staff in the coming months. In an organizational update, which is a euphemism, and that's a message posted on the studio's official website, CD Projekt CEO Adam Kaczynski states that the company wants to have teams that are more agile and more effective, also euphemisms, and that after analyzing the teams in the company, the decision has been made that some are no longer needed. We've carefully assessed all teams in the company in terms of their expected contribution to the delivery of our strategy, Kaczynski wrote. There's no easy way to say this, but today we are overstaffed. We have talented people on board who are finishing their tasks, and based on current and expected project needs, we already know we don't have other opportunities for them in the next year. The outcome is the studio parting ways with around 100 people, which is roughly 9% of the entire team. This is not the first studio that has done this year or ever. Overall, though, I think we got to a point where developers found some equilibrium, Jan. Like it used to be, and not that long ago, these companies would staff way up to get their games ready.
Yeah.
And they would fucking get the game out, and then the game would go out, and they would immediately start laying people off. And I think the answer to a lot of that was outside support studios, contractors that had that sort of expiration date built in. So it's like, okay, that's effectively the same thing, but there were slightly fewer stories about these kinds of layoffs. This was always going to be humming in the background of these studios being like, we have high tides and we have low tides. We put out games and that's high tide, a lot of money coming in. And then we have years where we're working on games that aren't going to come out for another 4 years. And that's low tide. And looking at trying to like make that make sense. The answer for a lot of times is going to be, we have to lay people off. And that's the volatility of making games. And so far it's like, what has been the answer to that? And these companies don't have one. The answer for employees has maybe often been unionized to a certain extent, but even then that's not an answer like in Hollywood, right? Like it's a gig job for union jobs in Hollywood. You just go from one gig to the other. And so that also has like that built-in layoff date essentially. But the other answer was live service games, where it's like, we are going to make live service games that are going to generate predictable amounts of income that could support studios through these years where we aren't putting out big new releases. And that strategy has also sort of gone up in smoke as, you know, they've pulled the plug on Gwent. And every other company is like, our live service games aren't working. So it's like, okay, well, that's not the answer either. So we got to go back to laying people off. And like the volatility is one of the things in this that makes this industry pretty tough to cover and feel good about. It's like these people are spending years making something, and you know, in the end, the thank you might be thank you, but we don't need your services anymore, and that stinks.
Yeah, the one of the worst parts about this, you know, a good chunk of those folks were probably contractors putting in like obscene amounts of hours and receiving little to no benefits. And it especially sucks for them, especially in, you know, this industry being having such a big unemployment pool because of so many layoffs and so many tech layoffs in general. It's very disheartening. Yeah, even if it's just 10% of their staff, that's like around 100-ish folks that are now out of a job, have to go searching around, that may wind up getting brought back to CD Projekt Red as a contractor for a future game. But games as a service, I don't think is working in terms of keeping folks employed.
No.
Even games that seem like they're doing well or doing okay, or good games, like that Gundam Evolution game, completely fine game, but now it's shut down.
Yep. And like it was clearly like, I get the thought, and it definitely works on, like, that's what has worked on mobile, but mobile, like making a live service project, and like they don't have the desire to then also fund big $200 million games. They're just like, no, we're going to make a game prototype for mobile and we're going to test it, and that's going to be $100,000 to $500,000 on the high end. And you know, we can make that make sense, and so we have this predictable income. We have our budget for testing stuff out, and that's that works a little bit on mobile. It's not necessarily actually going to keep working because the same games keep succeeding. Trying to apply that to console and PC gaming, it was a good idea, but it's not working for everybody, and everyone thought it would work for them. And so here we are once again talking about pretty much constant layoffs in the video game industry, and big surprise. All right, let's hit this next story, which is just going to drive me bonkers, Jan. ESRB asks FTC to approve facial estimation age checker. This is from Jeffrey Rousseau at gamesindustry.biz. The ESRB has proposed that the FTC greenlight facial age estimation technology as a method of verification in collaboration with the digital identity firm Yoti, an Epic Games subsidiary and software company Super Awesome. The proposal claims that the privacy protection facial age estimation is said to be can accurately determine a person's age. Basically, you take a picture of yourself, send it to the system, and they know how old you are, and now you can play that video game. This is coming straight from the ESRB, and fuck you. No.
What are they smoking over there, Grubb?
Go to hell with this. Like, ESRB, know your goddamn place. Like, you are only here to make sure the government doesn't interfere with games. Like, that is the whole reason you exist. The idea that we're gonna let you take pictures of children and to say this is what we think your age is, no thanks. Go fuck yourself. I do not, like, this is dumb as hell. Why would you even think that this is like your job? It's not. You just need to be like, oh no, we're doing age ratings on games. Don't worry, everything's fine. You, like, the whole decision about what games, she doesn't know what the ESRB is. I decide every game she plays. Like, that's what happens. Like, the idea that you have actually any effect on any of that is insane. The only effect you have is you prevent the government from putting more regulation in because you look like self-regulation. And then the idea of like, well, we need to self-regulate by taking pictures of people's faces in their homes. No, the Panopticon is already here. We don't need the video game industry getting in on that action. Go to hell. Jan, this drives me crazy. I'm hot.
It's hot. That's why you got the tank on.
That's right. Hot. Got the tank because I knew I was going to get so hot today.
Jim Ryan already has pictures of my ears, ESRB. I don't need anyone else to have pictures of my face.
Exactly. It's just, it's stupid. The proposal also said to the extent that there's any risk, it is easily outweighed by the benefits to consumers and businesses of using the facial age estimation method, which is something that someone says when they're lying.
It's so the sheer idea of, besides if we're throwing privacy out the window because nothing is private anymore,
Right.
the sheer idea of trying to use a picture to guesstimate someone's age is dumb as shit.
Yep. Just wild stuff.
What if someone's a baby face? You know,
Yeah,
my
exactly.
partner has a very young looking face. She's like 2-3 months older than me, but she always gets mistaken for someone that just turned like 19 or 20 or whatever. There are other people. We know people with baby faces. I'll also be offended if they think I'm hella old. Exactly, Shanny boy. What is Patrick Klepek gonna do?
Oh man, she is mad about Pikmin. Sorry, I got my. I need to go take a picture of her face because she's angry right now. And yes, yeah, that's another. Yeah, the baby face thing. Like, you know, there was always people on TikTok doing like the age checker on there, and it's like, you look like a child. It's like, oh, okay, that would be very frustrating.
Like, you know how like picture verification is the dumbest shit in the world, because I will go to like a liquor store, buy a 40, and then someone will hold up the ID. I'm like, I don't know if this looks like you. Well, I don't know how else to convince you that this person on the ID is me.
Yeah.
Or go to a Costco. I'm like, well, I haven't updated that picture in like 15 years, but it is me. What this is so fucking stupid.
Yep. It's dumb. And again, it's just so outside the purview of the ESRB's real reason for existing. Get the hell out of here with that. Absolutely.
Go touch some grass and mow a lawn.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Exoprimal seems to be finding an audience with Xbox Game Pass. This is from George Yang at GameSpot. Capcom has announced that Exoprimal has reached over 1 million players, and it seems Xbox Game Pass could have played a role in the game finding a large audience right away. To celebrate, players will receive a neat reward next month. To commemorate this milestone, a free Skywave skin will be included in the August 16th title update. That's from the official Exoprimal Twitter account. We're hard at work on improvements to the game based on player feedback. Thank you for your ongoing support. Exoprimal launched on July 14th for a whole bunch of systems. It was also included on Xbox Game Pass on release day, which likely led to the game finding an audience. And I think when we were playing this game, Jam, it was like, this is a very good Game Pass game, not in that traditional way of like, it's actually a bad game, but you didn't pay for it. It's like, no, there's something here. We enjoyed it. It's fun, and it's more fun with friends. Of course it is. Mm-hmm. And Game Pass empowers that exact line of thinking better than a lot of other things. So yeah. I think this was a really good fit on both sides of the coin there.
Yeah, I think this is also a good use case for Capcom, right? And validation for Capcom to continue putting stuff out on Game Pass day one. Because I think this would be not that it'd be a hard sell, but for folks on console of like, I don't know if I want to play like another like group shooter PvP VE. I mean, dinosaurs are sick as hell, but knowing that it's on Game Pass, it's like, okay, yeah, let's just check it out. Man, this could have been Redfall.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Looking at like the relationship that Microsoft's building with Capcom on Game Pass and them doing the Path of the Goddess, and that's a single player game. It's like, I think Microsoft is like finding the companies that have like a softer position on Game Pass, because we heard in that trial that Strauss Zelnick and even Bobby Kotick, they're like, oh, we're not putting our shit in Game Pass. No way. We can get $70 for games. And it's like, yeah, you know what? I get it. If I was in your position and my games sold as well as yours do right away, I wouldn't either. Or at least I would be very skeptical of putting my stuff in Game Pass. But not every publisher is that way. Capcom is a very good example. And they are like, Exoprimal is clearly benefiting from this because it's a game that that has mixed word of mouth. We are having a good time. I've heard a lot of people who do not like the game, and that's going to make it a very challenging thing in this very busy year to sell at the price that they're selling it at on all these other platforms. And so giving it a chance to just succeed on its own merits by letting people play it through Game Pass, that is benefiting the game, Capcom, all these other things, kind of making it much more worth their while. And then Capcom's going to follow that up with a single player game that, you would think Capcom doesn't need Game Pass for that, but I don't think it's about need. I think that if they just found a way like to make it make sense for them, and they think that word of mouth is beneficial, and Microsoft's also probably making it worth their while in terms of dollars. But they would have made it worth a lot of these companies' whiles, and they still said no. So it's like, clearly they were just like, let's work on Capcom. We have them believing a little bit in Game Pass. Let's show them the benefits of it. And Exoprimal is them executing on that, and it's working. So
100%. And maybe this can motivate Capcom to dig out some older franchises that they have. Perhaps we see more Beautiful Joe finally. I know Boss Baby would love that.
Boss Baby needs his Beautiful Joe. Absolutely, BB.
Lost Planet, I feel like, is something that they could revisit, especially with the success of Exoprimal. Instead of dinosaurs, just big glowy bugs. Everyone loves big glowy bugs.
Yeah, big glowy bugs. And Breath of Fire, says Abs B. Yeah. All kinds of
sure.
Stuff. Yeah.
Power Stone.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, who knows like how much Game Pass can convince Capcom to invest in all these things, but it's like it's definitely not hurting, and like it is one more check in the we can make these things make sense column, and so right. that's encouraging.
Yeah, and if Microsoft can spin off and have a small studio make a small curated game like Pentiment, maybe Capcom can feel motivated to do something similar if for like a smaller project because they know that there is a guaranteed install base with Game Pass.
Yep, I think it's possible. Yeah, and I hope that this is what the future of Game Pass enables, is just having a little bit more confidence in your games, being able to find an audience, and then it's up to you in your game and your studios and your marketing team and your publisher to take that momentum and turn it into something real. And there's no guarantee that's going to keep happy for Exoprimal, but you are in a much better position than you would have been otherwise. So we'll see how they are able to harness that excitement. Final Fantasy XVI producer is tired of toxic fans. There's this comes
Me
from Peter
too, buddy.
Hegval. I can't remember what site. I'm sorry about that. There's nothing new about the internet being flooded with overly passionate, often toxic fans who make it their life's work to hate everything and everyone beyond all reason. The producer of Final Fantasy XVI is one of those who has grown tired of the toxic discussions about games. And in a recent interview that is part of a Japanese documentary film about Final Fantasy, he made the following statement. There's a lot of people who just yell at you. People I've never seen or met or talked to before. It's weird. What did we do to them? Perhaps they just write it from a place of negativity and malice. It's tiresome. And I'll tell you, that is understating what is going on with Final Fantasy 16. Every time I go to check in on Final Fantasy 16 on like Twitter or whatever, and I'm not like actively checking in, it just kind of comes across my feed. It is still people fighting about the reviews and people fighting about the game in general. And I get that is Final Fantasy. That's always been a big part of Final Fantasy. But boy, it's just like, oh yeah, that's you guys. That reviews it's weeks old. Haven't you moved on? No, no, they haven't. They're still mad at Skill Up for saying in his review, hey, a lot of people like this game, and it's okay if you like this game. I didn't, and they're very mad at him for saying that. Like you're not allowed to say that apparently.
Poor Gene is still catching strays from like being quoted on the trailer or something.
And it's both directions. It is people who love Final Fantasy and don't like this game being mad at people who do like the game, and it's people who like the game and are mad at people who don't like the game. It's and just the back and forth nonstop. And I wrote this on Twitter that I'm like, I like my Pikmin 4 where no one's talking about it. In general, Jan, I like things where people are like, I don't know, like that's one of the things about hockey where it's like no one kind of cares about that. I don't have to listen to anyone else's opinion on that for the most part, other than Boss Baby, and that's nice. I could just enjoy it in my little vacuum, and that helps me. And Pikmin 4 is in that vacuum because the toxicity does drag it down for me.
There's just no the folks that are super toxic and they are super toxic for whatever reasons, they're just not even attempting to have a productive conversation about the game. And I don't know why, but I feel like brains may be broken where they just can't get over it. It's like, well, if this isn't for you, then just fucking leave, dog.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's do this last story. Capcom acquires Street Fighter VI and Final Fantasy XVI support studio Swordcanes from Jordan Miller at VGC. Capcom has acquired Swordcanes, a support studio that has previously worked on Street Fighter VI, Final Fantasy XVI, and Hi-Fi Rush. Swordcanes primarily works on CG assets and animation. The company has also previously worked on the Monster Hunter series and assisted Bandai Namco in the character modeling for new Pokemon Snap. they do a lot of like the hard asset creation work that a lot of these companies rely on. And I mostly included the story, Jan, just to point out this is going to keep happening. I think every time we've talked about a sports studio getting acquired, I said this, but I'll say it again. This is a huge part of make games make sense right now for these companies. It is finding the people who can do the work at a relatively affordable rate. And instead of like continually trying to contract them and getting in line with all the other people competing for their contracts, you just got to buy them. So these support studios are going to keep getting swooped up, and like that's going to be the next big wave. It's not going to necessarily be big publishers or big recognizable studios. It's going to be studios like Swordcanes and these studios that are coming up out of Brazil and Mexico and Australia. These support studios that are going to be just, you're going to read a headline like this every couple of months. Another big publisher bought the support studio because they need more bodies on these games. So, yeah, that's happy with Swordcanes. Going to keep happening.
I'm all for it, especially because they're doing amazing work. Yeah,
and it's like, get paid. You started a company, you succeeded, and now you get to have that exit. That's the way it's supposed to work. I'm not a big fan of capitalism. People know, but if we're going to have it, it needs to work this way where people can take risks and get rewards for those risks, and here it is. You're getting rewarded. Finally, just real quick, EA says stay tuned for a Skate console playtest thing. So, hey, maybe we'll be able to actually play that game on console here in a much wider way. People have tested it for a while, but I think it's mostly been like these invite-only things. So the way that they're phrasing it now makes it sound like, hey, maybe we'll all get a chance to play it. This game got announced in 2020, so... and I know that was pretty early on, like that when they announced it, it was like, hey, we're just kind of spinning things up. So we probably are still more than a year away, probably. But I would like to see it. I would like to see more of it. That's where I'm at. Okay, Jan, I have the poll from yesterday. Let's bring it up by going here. And actually, that's Boss Baby. Let me get off of there real quick. Hello, Boss Baby. All right. We asked on the show, do you have an 8K TV? And Jan, 1% said yes. 96%.
That is the 1%.
That is the real 1% is here in our community. 96% said no, and then 3% said no, but I would get one for a PS5 Pro. This is exactly what I'm saying, Jan. 8K is not going to do anything in terms of that marketing buzzword the way 4K did.
No, I don't. Yeah, they need to come up with a different name, like maybe 4K2.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it is. 4K squared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any, like, are you in the market for a new TV at all, Jan?
No, Grubb. I'm not at all. The other day I was looking at a projector because I'm a freak.
Yeah, I got a projector from BenQ several years ago. It's a 1080p one. I feel good about that. I don't need a 4K one. It's great. 1080p looks great. Project even at like 100 inches, it still looks great. So that's what we got set up right on the other side of that green screen, and we watch movies over there every once in a while. Mostly we watch Wreck-It Ralph and the Super Mario Brothers movie over and over. But that's fine. I'm fine with that. Okay, I have a new poll question that we're going to ask on giantbomb.com, and we'll get to it when I get back from a little vacation, just a little breaky break.
Well deserved.
Thank you so much, Jan. I'm looking forward to it. Gonna go I'm going to see the Blue Man Group. That's what I'm doing with my time off.
That's what you're doing.
I'm going to see the Blue Man Group. Also, I'm going to go to the Shed Aquarium and stuff like that. Just spending some time in Chicago. Just kind of getting out of town. Going to see some fun stuff. Maybe swim at the pool at the hotel. That sort of thing. Going to see the Bean. Yeah, I'm going to see the Bean. I'm going to do a little source code. People know I'm a source code freak. Love that source code. But yeah, the new poll question is going to be, what is the best children's food? Hot dog, cheese pizza, or chicky nug nugs? We'll put that up on youtube.com/giantbomb, and you go to the community tab and find it there and vote. I know what I'm going to vote for. Actually, I don't. This is tough. This is a tough question.
That is. Grubb, there is a new Jerem animation original that I would like for you to see for the first time with the fine folks watching live. This is going to be terrible for audio listeners, but sorry.
Listen, this is our show. We do what we want here. If someone could put it in chat, that would be the easiest way. Is there like a public link for it?
If
not, I can get it from Slack.
No, there we go.
it is.
There we go.
There, fantastic. All right, copy
Thank you.
link.
Thank you,
All
everyone.
right, let's set this in the gamer browser. Okay, I'm gonna scroll this down. Let's frame it up for everybody. All right, and you know what? Is there audio? Seems like there might be audio. So let me do this. All right, here we go. Oh no! Oh yes! Oh my god! All right, this is the Bat Grubb intro with Bat Grubb, Robo Mitch, and Dan Sonic. Forming the Blight Club. Oh my god, this is incredible. Oh, I didn't think it would keep going. It keeps going. Oh, that profile of Mike. Jerem has completely outdone himself. This is just beyond.
I know that he made this out of the love of his heart, but I'm gonna try and find a way to pay him.
Well, I mean, let's use it as the intro to Blight Club, and we'll pay him for it, right? Yeah,
exactly.
That's all. He did Mike singing. Oh man, that is really good work, Jerem. I am blown away.
I love
voicemail
when
dump
I
truck
watch.
here.
I love when I watch something and I'm just like, you have so much talent.
Yeah, just brimming with talent, just boiling over the top. Thank you, Jerem. Thank you for sharing that with me, Jan.
Salamat.
We'll put this on the front of Blight Club, which we're doing today. I don't know if it'll be on today's Blight Club. We'll try to make it happen, but we'll see. We're doing Blight Club today on Wednesday because, again, taking some time off here on Giant Bomb. Speaking of Giant Bomb, what else do we have happening this week, Jan?
Not immediately after this, but Blight Club will be happening today.
Yes.
Tomorrow, no Game Mess on Thursday, Friday, Monday.
That's right.
We will have the voicemail dump truck. An earlier episode of UPF, I believe. We still got to do some planning about that. Tam and Lucy did go to Comic-Con, so there may be a little bit of travelogue. They shot some stuff there, their impressions, a little show floor tour. So we'll see what can pop off.
I'm excited. I'll probably put UPF or put a voicemail dump truck on for the drive. Let the kids listen to that, see what they think. I'm sure that'll be great.
We'll make sure it's not blue. I will say that Grubb, for something in September, we got confirmation and some exciting news. Yeah, I'll just keep it vague.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. So we're going to have a lot of fun stuff happening on Giant Bomb through the rest of the year. So
Cam, Lucy, and I are... Listen, those two already drift compatible.
Yes.
We learned in Pacific Rim that a 3-man team can be also drift compatible with the Chinese basketball team.
Sure.
Let's just say the three of us are going to spend a lot of time together.
Uh-huh. It's going to be
in a confined space.
In a tube of sorts. I cannot wait to see what comes out of that because it's a very fun thing. So, yeah, we're just going to be doing more stuff together, everybody. Basically, that's the idea. We're going to find every excuse we can. It's going to be a good time. So keep tuning to giantbomb.com. In the meantime, Jan, thank you so much for hanging out with me today talking about video games. I appreciate it, man.
Yes, I had to move my mental clock to Thursday, and now Thursday feels great, but now I have to come to the reality of Wednesday.
It's Wednesday still. Thank you all for watching. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, which will probably be next Wednesday, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye. Bat Grubb.
Oh, hot dog's so yummy.
Hot dog's so yummy. All right. We did it, everybody.
Bye, TikTok.
Bye, TikTok. Okay, let's